Good evening, Mayor Lee, members of the Berkeley Board, Mayor Tamburino, and members of the Hillside Board, and our partners at the Berkeley Park District. My name is Tony Mano, and I'm a senior planner with the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, also known as CMAP. I'm also the project manager for the Prairie Path and Taft Avenue Corridor Plan. I'm joined on this presentation by my colleague, project teammate, and associate planner, Katie Petrowska. Also on our team is Eric Pedersen, the map coordinator at CMAP. Katie and I both have a background in economic development and transportation planning, and I'd also like to briefly mention that I am a local, having grown up in Westchester where my parents still live. I'm very familiar with the area and I'm very excited to be working on a project in this part of the region. This presentation will briefly outline the work our team has accomplished over the past few months to examine and analyze the existing conditions in the corridor plan study area. For a bit of background, the Village of Berkeley applied to CMAP's Local Technical Assistance Program towards the end of 2018 for assistance exploring economic development opportunities along and around the Prairie Path at Taft and Electric Avenues. The Local Technical Assistance Program provides transportation and land use planning guidance to local government and nonprofit partners throughout the 7-county CMAP region. The application for this project was submitted in partnership with the Village of Hillside and the Berkeley Park District, and we selected to take this project on because of that great multi-jurisdictional partnership illustrated and the opportunities for growth that we see in the area. I believe you were provided an electronic or hard copy of the full draft existing conditions report for review. We're calling this a draft because we do not finalize any project deliverables until the partners have had a chance to review and provide us feedback. That feedback can be given after this presentation or to us via email or phone call over the next few weeks. The contents of the full draft report are laid out on this slide, and you can see that we examined quite a few different areas during our assessment. This is a map of the study area, bounded roughly to the north by Burr Oak and Hawthorne Avenues, to the east at Wolf Road, to the west at 294, and to the south at Warren Avenue. This study area was proposed by the project partners, and we use these boundaries to drill down into the available data and subsequent recommendations. But of course, feedback from partners and other interested parties outside the study area is always welcome. What will this plan cover? We have explored data related to and will focus on economic development, transportation, placemaking, and development opportunities. We're open to exploring other areas if they arise during discussion with the project partners, stakeholders, or the public at large, but these are the components we typically start with when looking at a corridor and surrounding study area. I would be remiss if I did not briefly address the current pandemic situation. This project really began right as the pandemic hit the region, but I'm proud to say that we were able to work diligently to deliver this analysis on time as our project schedule initially proposed. I want to thank our partners in Berkeley and Hillside for their patience and understanding as we navigated this work 100% remotely. We intend to keep a close eye on new data as it comes in, and we'll be able to adjust accordingly throughout the project process if necessary. We planners like to get out in the field often, meet face-to-face with our partners, and really immerse ourselves in the study area, so this was difficult to do. But we were all able to visit the study area on our own, and we do look forward to a time when we can all meet up safely to discuss this project and hopefully see some recommended improvements implemented. We certainly appreciate your understanding that we are delivering this presentation as recorded and virtually, but please know that we are always available in real time to discuss the findings and the next steps. And with that, I'd like to turn things over to my colleague, Katie, to discuss the components of the existing conditions report, or ECR as we sometimes call it, starting with the demographic data. Thanks, Katie.
So the existing conditions report examines a number of demographic data points displayed on the slide here. And this data helps us understand who lives in the community in order to be able to make recommendations in the future that fit the context of the community. In addition to examining demographic data, we also looked at economic data in the study area to get a better understanding of the current economic conditions. And we looked at things like median household income, as well as per capita income, and data points like the unemployment rate. So this gives us a better understanding of what's going on in the community in terms of economics. We take a closer look at economic development data in this chapter of the ECR. And we really wanted to provide a context for economic development in the study area. So we looked at trends not only in our study area, but also in Berkeley and Hillside as a whole, as well as the larger sub-regional and regional markets. So we look at things like employment, the types of employment that residents have, and also what kind of workers are commuting to the study area. We also looked at retail market trends in our study area, as well as that larger market area. So all these data points help us ensure that any recommendations we make in the future are rooted in market realities. So through our data analysis, we had some key takeaways. One of which is that the study area has low retail vacancy rates compared to Berkeley and Hillside as a whole, as well as the larger Melrose Park area submarket. And this may be due to the fact that currently very little retail exists within the corridor, and the retail that does exist is occupied. We also conducted a retail gap analysis to see what kind of demand and supply is happening within the study area. So we found that within a 5-minute drive time of the intersection of Taft Avenue and Electric Avenue, retail demand is outpacing supply by about $170 million, meaning that there are opportunities to fill that gap with additional neighborhood scale commercial development within the corridor. Another thing to note is that the Taft Avenue corridor faces competition from nearby retailers, especially retailers located on St. Charles Road and Butterfield Road. Another area that we explored in the existing conditions report is transportation. So a robust transportation connection to the study area, as well as a safe bicycle and pedestrian environment, are very important for bringing visitors to not only the Illinois Prairie Path, but also to the Taft Avenue corridor. So in the following sections, we provide an overview of transit options near the study area, and we also look at traffic counts as well as the bicycle and pedestrian environment. So some key takeaways from this section. There are several transit options near the study area, including the Union Pacific West Metro line and several PACE bus routes that connect the area to the CTA blue lines and green lines. We also looked at sidewalk coverage within the study area using CMAP's sidewalk inventory data. And through that, we found that most streets in the study area have a sidewalk on both sides, which is great for pedestrians. We also looked at average daily traffic counts along, especially along Electric Avenue and Taft Avenue, and found that traffic counts along these streets are relatively low compared to other major corridors, which can actually make the area more attractive to users of the Illinois Prairie Path, which might be biking or walking in the area. So the last section of the ECR examines the natural resources in the study area as well as the larger context. So it's important to note that natural resources like parks and open space in the study area exist within that larger regional context. And the Illinois Prairie Path plays an important role in connecting residents and visitors to that network. So in this section, we looked at access to parks in Berkeley and Hillside, as well as looked at potential flooding issues in the study area. So some key takeaways. Berkeley and Hillside both have parks within their perimeters, and according to our regional access to open space metrics, Hillside meets the recommended acreage of park space per 1,000 residents, while Berkeley is slightly below that threshold. So there are opportunities to increase access to parks for residents of the study area. And when we looked at flood susceptibility, we found that the study area has moderate flood susceptibility, meaning that Overall, flooding may not be an issue, but there may be some localized areas of flooding due to stormwater runoff. And that also presents an opportunity for integrating green infrastructure within the study area to help mitigate some of that stormwater runoff. So with that, I'll hand it over to Tony to talk about the next steps.
Thanks to Katie and Eric for all that great work you did on this analysis. Again, this is just a brief overview of the existing conditions in the study area. There are more details, including maps, graphs, and tables in the full draft document. Once this plan is reviewed by the Hillside and Berkeley partners, we will quickly make any necessary revisions or adjustments before considering this analysis document final and ready for public review. This review will start with a steering committee that will be formed shortly to not only provide us with feedback on this analysis, but also provide anecdotal information the data may not have uncovered. The steering committee will also provide us guidance throughout the rest of the plan process. We will spend the next few months in the visioning phase, which largely includes outreach to key stakeholders and the public at large via various methods, including a public engagement website that we will be unveiling in a few weeks once this report is finalized. We plan to do most of our outreach virtually out of respect for the health and safety of the stakeholders in the study area, but are open to any suggestions and ideas that will allow our plan process to be as widely accessible as possible. CMAP takes public participation very seriously, and we have many methods and best practices at our disposal to ensure that we are doing everything we can to reach as many people as possible. Based on your feedback and that from the public, we will then begin developing key recommendations and will then provide you with a draft of those recommendations for review and comment before we take them to the public again for feedback. The goal is to complete this project by the end of June 2021, culminating in a guidebook that illustrates a shared vision for the corridor to increase pedestrian and bike traffic along the Prairie Path, attract investment to the area, and enhance parks and open space for residents and path users. On behalf of my team, I want to thank you for your time today, and we welcome any feedback or questions now or via email afterward. Thanks again for accommodating us virtually. This presentation will be posted on the CMAP project page so it can be reviewed after tonight. Thank you very much.